Were you in Middle Tennessee? Were you someplace else in the state or the country?
No, I was local here in Nashville, Tennessee. I was living over in Bellevue.
Okay. So you say you did your flip first. Was it just kind of by accident that you got into flipping, or how did you pick that hey, I'm going to go from this real estate and just get into flipping? Like, what made you desire to go after doing a flip?
You know, it was just the opportunity that came up. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was going to a bunch of meetups, networking with people who knew more than I did. My biggest thing was, how do I add value to people who are already doing what I want to do? So I went to a meetup, met a guy who kind of knew what he was doing. He gave me a little bit of advice. You know, I think it was like to put up some of those like "We Buy Houses" signs on telephone poles. Did that. We ended up getting a phone call from a guy in Shelbyville, and you know, he knew how to do a flip and said, you know, hey, look, you're gonna manage this thing. We're just gonna throw you in the fire. And ended up doing it. Was waking up at 5 a.m. every morning to drive an hour and a half away and an hour and a half back. And you know, 2 months later, we sold it in December of like 2016 or 17, something like that. And yeah, that's pretty much how it all started.
Awesome. So you did Bedford County, Shelbyville, right?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That's typically not where you get started in flipping houses, but there's opportunities everywhere. Right now, you're doing both wholesaling and flipping. Is there one that you prefer over the other, or does one kind of feed the other one? How does kind of dive into that situation with you doing both right now?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we've done everything from new construction, wholesaling to rehabs. You know, there's advantages and there's disadvantages to each. So with wholesaling, the great thing about that is it's a business that's not cash flow intensive. Your turnaround's really quick. You get a quick buck. And if you can get the right systems and processes in place, you don't have to deal with the cash flow crunch. That's what I really like about wholesaling. Some of the downfall is you do have to spend marketing. So usually you're organically picking these out of the market. You're dealing with directly with motivated sellers, not buying deals from real estate agents or other wholesalers. So you got to keep that in mind. So you're going to have more overhead as a wholesaler, but your profits are going to be a lot faster, and you're not going to have to deal with as much cash flow issues. We have really pushed more towards rehabbing, especially this year, starting in January, because we put the right systems and processes in place. We finally had all the guys in the right seats, and we were able to turn and burn these things really, really fast, do a bunch of deals. We had private money lined up to do a bunch of deals. So we've been geared more towards flipping. So if you ask me what I like better, I like them both. I think the wholesales keep your business going and keep the cash flow crunch away from your business, while the rehabs bring in big bucks, because that's why we're all in this, right? To build the life that we want to live.
Correct. So right now, have you scaled down your marketing? Are you doing the same amount of marketing that you had previously doing? Kind of talk about your marketing right now. How are you getting your deals for your wholesale and your flips?
Yeah, great question. So 2.5 years into this, we were heavy in the marketing. I think we were spending like $16,000 a month, mostly on mailers, Facebook ads, doing bandit signs. And we actually made an initiative and did a little pivot back in January, you know, luckily before the whole COVID thing hit, where I really wanted to push my team and see what we were capable of. And I told them, look, guys, I'm not going to spend any more money on marketing. I want to see if we can organically pick out deals with our relationships from other wholesalers, other agents, and calling our referral base, people who have sold us their house, and try to generate referrals. My goal was to generate as many deals as we were doing with marketing spend without doing the marketing spend, because the marketing was like 30 to 40% of our overhead. It was a lot.
Yeah.
I knew if I could reduce that, then it would help out the cash flow situation with the business a lot more. And man, luckily we've been very, very blessed for that to have worked out. I'm really proud of the team and everything they've accomplished. I am looking to hire a sales rep, and then when I get that sales rep hired, then I will turn the marketing back on. Right now, we have too many deals going on. We cannot, there's no way we can handle turning the marketing back on.
When do you think that point will be where you turn it back on and hire your sales guy? Do you have a kind of an ideal date in your head as to what that looks like, or just kind of waiting until the right moment comes?
We've hired a recruiter. We've been fielding candidates for the past couple months. We've had some promising prospects that have come close, but nobody who's really just hit the nail on the head. So I'm really hoping to be able to pull the trigger on somebody here in the next 4 weeks. Okay.
So when you're looking for a deal, like what is your, like, do you have the form like 75, 70% ARV? Like what are you looking for? Do you have a number that you have set of what you're looking to make per transaction? Is just kind of, how do you determine what's a good deal for you, whether it's a wholesale deal or it's a flip for you? If you can dive into those numbers of what you go to make sure that you're generating enough cash coming in, depending on the scenario that you're looking at.
Sure, that's a great question. So we've kind of got a formula, and our formula has morphed over the years. We've gotten a lot more aggressive with some of the systems that we've been able to put in place. So we used to do the 70-75% formula, minus repairs, and stick to it. Lately, though, we've changed things. As of about 6 months ago, we've been really heavily focused on raising private money because we knew it would allow us to get all of our rehab funds up front. It would reduce our hard money costs significantly. So when we were able to tap into that and raise private funds, we really were able to scale our business. Now, the way I evaluate a deal, whether or not it is a wholesale deal or it is a rehab deal, is basically the profit margin and the turnaround time. So
Okay.
I personally like to stick to homes that are priced $350 and less. That's just my niche. And the reason I do that is that's kind of the last price point that gets hit when you get a market turn. Right. So when COVID hit, your $1 million homes plus your $500,000 homes, those are the price points that get hit the hardest and have the most risk associated with them. I'm not a very risk averse person. I like to reduce my risk as much as possible. So staying in those lower price points allows the other guys to kind of be the canary in the coal mine. And I can see, okay, these guys are cooking and we're not. All of our properties that we had on the market during COVID actually continued to move because they were priced under $300,000. It was a well-done rehab in a good area. So we didn't feel the effects of COVID much with our portfolio on the market. So that would be the first tier, is the price point. The second would be, what's the turnaround time? So if the profit margin isn't attractive, we'll just go ahead and we'll wholesale it. We usually try to wholesale just about everything to see what we can get for it. And if we can get enough where we say, all right, we would rather take this profit in a 2-3 week period than the profit we would make rehabbing it, 2-3 months from now, we'll go ahead and take it. There's not a set formula. It's more or less just what is our time to value and return on that money. And, we've got we got 2 fire damage properties we're scraping and a tornado property that'll take us, 3-4 months to do, but the margins on them are really good. So we chose to rehab those properties rather than wholesale them. Did that answer your question? I know I said a lot there.
Yeah, it did. Diving into your private money, what are if you can talk about the terms that you're getting right now? I know the most hard money is anywhere from 10 to 15%. What are you getting on your private money to help you fund your transaction that you're wanting to complete?
Yeah, great question. So it's anywhere between 8 and 12%, and I get 100% of the rehab funds up front. And I always borrow a little bit extra. So I'm usually borrowing anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 extra, just in case we were to go over on the rehab. And there's no points up front.
Because you never know. Like, I know I opened up a wall before. It's like, there's fire damage that the previous owners just slapped together and pigtailed the electrical together and covered up with sheetrock instead of actually fixing the charred wood and actually rewiring things. So you never know when you open up a wall, what you might find.
No, you're exactly right.
So on the 10-day, I was watching your email blasts that you were sending out on your 10-day flip. How did you get that idea? Why did you pick that property? Like, how the heck did you get a house done in 10 days?
Yeah, so there's a lot there to it. So I got the idea from someone who's in a group with me. I'm part of a mastermind group where we always share ideas and teach each other and help each other learn. There was a guy, his name's Tyler. He was doing them out in Utah, and I flew out to Salt Lake City, Utah to watch him do a renovation really, really fast. Brought my project manager out there, flew him out there. We had a good time for 3 days, broke down his whole systems and processes on how he was doing it. And that really inspired, me and my team to come out and see what we can do, because we're always pushing each other to get better, just to push the limit and just see what's possible. We're trying to reinvent the wheel as rehabbers here and show people what is possible. So his stuff as he doing was a little bit more cosmetic than the first one we tried to do. So we thought it was going to be a $51,000 renovation on a 1,300 square foot home. It was a modular home, and we were turning it basically into a single family home, but permanently affixing it to the land. So we had to do the full foundation. It was needed a new roof. It was a full gut on the inside. So it was quite the project. And as far as how we pulled it off, it's just planning and organizing. The biggest takeaways I can tell you if you want to plan to do a rehab really, really fast is have your A players set. So we've spent several years finding or digging through a lot of the dirt to find the gold as far as contractors go. So we've got an A team of contractors we keep busy and we love working with them. So we organized them on a Gantt chart and we had them all scheduled out day to day. So everything was scheduled in a 10-day period. We made sure we set the expectations with them, and we personally had them sign contracts on the days that they would show up, the times that they'd be there, and the times that the project would end, or at least their specific task. And we had penalties built in for every day that they went over, and then we had them sign off on those contracts. The second thing we did was we put all the materials on the job site. So our project manager went and bought everything up front. So it's sitting in a little storage unit on the side. You can order like a little pod, or you can back in a U-Haul truck. So we had all the materials there, and we had lunch there every day. So the contractors, no excuse for the contractors to leave. We had the project manager sitting there, cracking the whip, saying, "Hey guys, there's no reason to do Home Depot runs. We've got everything there. We've got you lunch." And we basically just kept them there for 10, 12 hours a day to work on the 10-day flip. And they were on board too. They knew that what they were doing was unprecedented, and they were excited about it. But that's it in a nutshell: planning and organizing.
One of my best friends owns 4 car lots, and he discovered a few years ago that if he feeds everybody every day, they work harder and he gets better results out of them just by buying people lunch. So it cost him $50 a day, but his production level on the car lots and how many cars he sold up went up. I don't know. He went from basically a mom and a pop. He opened up 3 more lots in the last 3 years by just adding lunch and keeping his employees happy and working. It's crazy how lunch changes people's attitudes.
Yeah, it's really about adopting a serving mentality, right? Just whenever you go into a situation and your ability as a leader is just to serve other people, you're going to get so much loyalty and so much following, and people are obviously going to want to work so much harder for you. So that's what I just try to do every day, is humble myself and serve others.
Cool. What areas are you farming, looking for rehabs, wholesales? And is there a certain area that you're going after in Middle Tennessee? Is it Davidson County only, or are you expanding beyond to the 5 major Middle Tennessee counties? Or what areas do you like to farm and rehab in?
Yeah, anywhere between 45 minutes of downtown Nashville. We'll go to Dixon, Lebanon, Murfreesboro, Gallatin, Clarksville. We don't do a ton in Clarksville. Every now and then we'll get a good flip or a good wholesale opportunity. We mainly wholesale in Clarksville, so it just depends on the market, but we usually try to stay within 45 minutes of downtown Nashville.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Does anyone have any questions for Brandon? I've tried to ask him some questions that I'm interested in myself, and also I thought that would be enlightening to other people, but I'm ready to open up the questions to Brandon.
Everybody's got all the info they need.
Apparently. Anyone have any questions?
You guys are more than welcome to jump in. You can unmute yourself and ask Brandon anything.
Anybody want to get on Brandon's wholesale list?
Yeah, I think we've got some pretty decent wholesale lists come up. So yeah, maybe you can post my email or something. I can send you our lead intakes, and we can put whoever wants on there.
A few weeks ago, I met up with you, and you had started working on projects. So you've got guys you are willing to also partner with people to help them complete rehabs, correct? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we launched HBG Construction last year. It's a construction company. It started out as an entity that just serviced all of our flips in-house. But as we got our systems and processes down and started really banging these things out, we decided to branch out, and we saw an opportunity to service the investor niche. We were doing construction projects for homeowners, for seasoned investors, green investors, and we really decided that who we liked serving best was investors, because we understood all the pain points, right? Contractor communication, getting the job done on time, getting it done quickly, letting it not drag. We all know how much hard money costs to eat your project up, especially when it goes 2-3 months over. Those were the biggest pain points for us. We solved those pain points with our construction company, and so we sought to basically do that for other people. So we work exclusively with investors. The projects that we like to tackle are not like your full gut flips for other people, but if you have like a cosmetic rehab and you want it done in a couple weeks, and I mean a couple weeks, when I say a couple weeks, then we're probably a good fit for you.
Okay.
This, and in this, this is Sharon. Hey, so sounds like that's part of your consulting, but what I was going to ask is, if anything that you can share on your system recommendations. It sounds like you use maybe Microsoft Project or Gantt charts, for example.
So we're really, really basic. We use Excel for our Gantt charts, and maybe I can send Nick it, and he can send the copy out to everybody. But it's really basic. It has a list of all the projects from top to bottom, and then names of each individual who's working on it, and then each day is at the top, and there's a 1 next to each person. So at the bottom, it tells us exactly how many people are supposed to be there every day at the very bottom. And so the project manager can very quickly, look and see if everyone's supposed to be there, and that's how we, keep everything on track. But it's just a simple Excel sheet. I could send it out to everybody.
That'd be amazing. How many are you doing at a time? How many are you doing at a time?
So it varies. Sometimes we might only have like 1 or 2 going. Sometimes we might have like 8 going. I think we've got somewhere around 4 or 5 going right now, and 4 on the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, great questions.
I just posted your email address.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just send me an
So-
email if you want me to send that Gantt chart, or I don't know if you've got like a mass blast list. I can send it to you, and you can just send it to everybody all at the same time. However you want to do it.
Yeah, I can do that. Absolutely.
That's all I've got. If no one else has any questions, Brandon's just always been impressive with me when I met him about 1.5 years ago, and he is a true go-getter, and he gets them done. So just thought I would like to share his wisdom that he's got. Anybody else got any questions?
I'd love to know, are you seeing, so you mentioned, your flips and your wholesale deals, are they kind of consistently 1%, 50-50 or 80-20, or does that just change all the time?
It changes. Our business 3 years ago is totally different than it was 2 years ago, and it's totally different today than it was last year. Like we were doing a lot of wholesaling, I'd say the first 2 to 3 quarters of last year, and we really ramped up our flip operation. When we first started, we were probably doing somewhere around 70% flips, 30% wholesale. And then, a year and a half ago, probably somewhere around 80% wholesale, 20% flips. And now this year, we'll probably do something like 70% flips, 30% wholesales.
Awesome. So is that indicative of the types of properties that you're marketing to, or it's just random chance, do you think?
It's just what comes up, when you're buying. So we pivoted back in January, and I think I already told you kind of what we did, where I turned the marketing off and just worked exclusively with buying from more of our, partners and vendors and wholesalers and agents. And when you do that, obviously you're going to have to flip a lot more, right? Because you're not going to, put a wholesaler's property and then try to, remarket it somewhere else. So that would be a big reason of why we started rehabbing a lot more this year. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Coming across slimmer margin, you gotta actually fix it up to make money.
Yeah.
How many rehabs have you done so far this year, Brandon?
Honestly, I don't even know. We've probably completed and sold somewhere around, I want to say 15 to 20, somewhere around there, maybe.
Do you have a goal set for this year of how many, or just whatever comes is coming, that as long as you're turning a profit, you'll just keep going?
Yeah, our goal is to flip at least 40 to 50 properties this year. My goal is 1.3 in gross profit.
Okay.
So it's more centered around achieving that gross profit number, not necessarily the number.
Yeah. So it could be 3 a month, it could be 4 a month, it could be 5 a month, but hitting that profit number. Okay. So you measure it with dollars versus number of flips.
Yeah, mostly with dollars and what we've got in the pipeline. That allows us to kind of pick and choose which ones we're going to wholesale, which ones we're going to flip to, based on kind of where we're at in the year and how we're performing as a company. Quick question. I mean, does most people in this room, do they wholesale? Do they rehab?
I'm a
I do
buy.
both.
I heard both.
Yeah, I'm a buy and hold.
Buy and hold. Okay, rental.
Basically, yeah.
I'm doing both right now.
Okay, you're doing both. Sharon, Allison, Robert, what do you guys do?
I'm mostly buy and hold. You know, we've talked about that.
Okay, mostly buy and hold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Benny,
I'm
what about
I'm
you?
a buy and holder, but I want to do some flips this year. So that's my goal.
Okay, cool. We don't do a ton of buy and hold. I was trying to kind of engage the sentiment to see if I might, you know, if we're more wholesalers on here versus rehabbers and flippers. It sounds like a couple people are trying to get into rehabs. The biggest thing on rehabs is planning, organizing and planning. Make sure you organize and plan your flip. You should spend most of your time doing it. If you do that, everything else becomes really, really easy on the flip. You know, when you just start a flip and you're scheduling guys and you don't have everything negotiated on the front end, you don't have a Gantt chart and timeline built, you don't have all the materials on the site, you know, that's where you run into where people check themselves in the rehab for flipping houses. So that would be the biggest piece of advice I could give you guys if you are just starting to try to get into rehabbing.
And I assume you're starting your planning before you close.
Yeah, we try to get our project managers in there at least 7 to 10 days before we close on the property so that they can start building the scope of work and all that good stuff. You know, we're trying something new right now. So I sit down with my team every week and I try to figure out, all right, what's taking up the most of your time on the job and how do we streamline and make that more efficient? And what I discovered just this past Monday was Michael, one of our project managers, was spending a lot of times having to go to a particular project and explain to the contractor how the job was supposed to be done. The guys know how to do the job, but they want to make sure they're doing it right. And he's having to show up multiple times because you can have 15, 20 subs on a lot of these projects. So it was wasting a lot of his time to show up, answer phone calls. So we just rolled out a program where we are having a quick little video done at the property that is the contractors are going to be going to. And it's basically a video of Mike walking the shower, for example. So, hey, here's what we're doing on the shower. And in the video, he walks out exactly A to Z, what's going to happen. And then a quick little video of the floors, A to Z, here's what's going to happen, the kitchen. So he's there for probably about an hour and a half shooting these. And then he sends those videos off to the respective subs. And what we're split testing and hoping to see is that they've got enough information on the front end. Mike's not having to show up to the property. So we're hoping it's going to eliminate like 10, 15 visits per project for him, which when he's managing 5 different rehabs himself, because that's kind of what we cap our project managers out, you know, that's a lot of visits. And we're hoping that that time can be spent elsewhere doing the higher dollar per activities that he is good at. So stay tuned. We'll see if it works.
I make the videos. It helps.
That's
It
a
helps
great
a lot.
idea.
Yeah, great question though. What's everybody struggling with most right now? Nobody's struggling, everybody's retired. I got to get on y'all's level, man. Y'all need to be doing this, not me.
I mean, I don't do wholesales or flips, but I still struggle with systems, how to make it as efficient as possible. That's why I'm really curious how you address that, because you've got more moving parts than I do. And I do, you know, and I have to rehab, or even for buy and hold, you do a certain level of rehab no matter what to make it livable. So I feel like it's a good idea to regularly revisit if something's working and what you can do to improve it. So
Yeah, where specifically, when you say like systems, where do you feel like you're struggling?
The patterned behavior, like I know when this happens, then, you know, knowing what the next thing would be, knowing when to do it, how long things should take. It's not even, I mean, I do think that technology is part of it, but it's not even just the technology. It's establishing patterns of behavior, mostly for myself, because it's mostly me.
And when you say patterns of behavior, what do you mean?
What to do when, based on my goals, like in your case, it's a revenue goal. You've got to set up a strategy to get there. I feel like I'm pretty haphazard rather than being, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And then
Yeah. So do you have a clear vision in line, like a goal that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your goal for the end of the year?
My goal for the end of the year is to close on I'm multifamily primarily. So I've got 2 projects I want to close on. And then I also want to establish marketing for buy and hold single families in kind of nicer neighborhoods in and around Nashville.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying your end of the year goal is you want to buy 2 multifamily properties, and by the end of the year, you want to have a marketing program set up for your single family portfolio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And so have you reverse engineered that goal? Let's just start with multifamily. For example, have you reverse engineered like, okay, I noticed that based on the number of appointments I go on, I close X number of those deals. Have you done any kind of research on that?
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So
I
we
haven't.
reverse engineer everything. Like we know that the average profit per flip is $31,000. Sometimes it's a lot more, sometimes it's a lot less. Sometimes we break even, right? It happens no matter how good you are. And I know that in order for us to get those, that the sales rep needs to go on at least 5 appointments to close 1 deal. So we need to generate at least 5 appointments to get that 1 deal. So if we want to hit our goal of doing 40 properties this year, hitting our revenue target, then that means it's going to be somewhere around, call it 3 to 4 deals a month, which means we need to generate 20 appointments per month. So how do you generate the appointment? Now you got to look into, well, am I making phone calls? Am I calling my referral base, all my friends, my family, the people who've sold properties to us, my agents? Am I reaching out to wholesalers? How many of those phone calls does it take for me to generate an appointment? And once you've reverse engineered from your goal, the number of appointments, the number that you need to close, the number of calls it takes to generate those appointments, that'll give you a more clear vision of the actions you need to be taking today to hit that goal 6 months down the road. That's what I would do personally.
That's a great idea. I will absolutely do it. Thank you. That's much less confusing than I'm over here and I'm trying to get over there and I'm just making my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
So I'll talk to you in 6 months after you close your 2 multifamily deals.
Yeah. Get on that.
Yeah. As far as your marketing goes, just see what works for you. I would make sure that you've got a little, don't throw money that you don't care about losing to marketing, because the way I describe marketing in real estate is there's this scene in Batman where the Joker kind of takes over the mafia and he's in this thing and he slides down the big old pile of money. Has everybody seen that before? He slides down it and then he takes gasoline and he throws it and he burns it. That's exactly how I would describe my marketing budget when I'm marketing. It's like we just light money on fire and hope that it generates everything that we want it to.